On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers signs a massive extension. So, what does that mean for Mikko Rantanen? Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche, Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche, Instagram, and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. And we do have a couple questions from, that was a new one.
Yeah.
Is that going back to school? We're playing.
No, I just noticed I'm wearing the Power Ranger shirt, so I summoned my Dragon Zord.
Okay.
The real ones know.
We do have a couple questions from our subtext people, which we'll get to a little bit later in our second and third segments. But off the top, the big news of the day around the NHL, Leon Draisaitl signing his extension, and it's a big one, 8-year contract, $112 million. That is an AAV of $14 million. AAV. So will make him, that goes into effect after this coming season, will make him the highest paid player in the league when that kicks in. So naturally, I think, a lot of people in Avalanche world are thinking, what's this mean for Mikko Rantanen? Because you keep hearing whispers of there is a extension for him around the corner. Some are saying they're just waiting for him to come back into town to sign that thing, that's what it sounds like happened with Leon Draisaitl. That he just got back and that deal was signed. So, but does this throw a wrench into anything? Like, what are you thinking? Let's give me your early takes and thoughts on this, Mr. Von Doom.
All right, let's be real here. Leon Draisaitl, $14 million AAV. Connor McDavid, $12.5 AAV. Nathan MacKinnon, $12.6 AAV. Where does Mikko Rantanen fall in this group of three? With Mikko,
forget Austin Matthews, who's over 13.
Yeah, and you mentioned this deal doesn't go into effect till after next season. So you're going to have, in a weird world that we live in, Leon Draisaitl making more money than Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid. Interesting to think about. Mikko Rantanen. And by the way, you mentioned when Leon came back, the deal was signed. Camps start up for the Avs, I believe, around the 12th.
Yeah, they had the dates for that.
So Mikko's probably getting ready to come rolling back into Denver
pretty soon.
What that contract, would you pay him more than Nathan MacKinnon?
So the thing about this is you said, Leon Draisaitl is now making more than Connor McDavid. Like that. I'm going to say this, but let me explain. It doesn't bother me. It's not that I feel like Leon Draisaitl is a better player than Connor McDavid. He's not. But it's just the nature of year-to-year salary cap. And when the salary cap goes up and you have someone like Connor McDavid who signed his contract years ago, it's going to get passed. It's been passed by a couple guys already, Nathan MacKinnon being one of them. So, we are now back into a flow where year after year after year, the cap is going to go up, save for another pandemic that just stops everything in its tracks again. But we're not anticipating, or I shouldn't say anticipating, we're planning for that. We're planning for normalcy and the cap going up like it normally does. Draisaitl is going to get passed at some point. That's just how this works. Go across sports. And there's guys who there were guys in the NFL who signed record deal, $55 million deal per year for quarterbacks. I don't know if it's Burrow now or Jalen Hurts or whoever it is. They're gonna get passed, and it's just it's the cycle of this stuff. So I don't mind, like, he's top in the league right now, and the dude is a top 4 or 5 player in the league. So yeah, he's gonna be up there. That doesn't surprise me. Now your question is like, are you gonna pay Mikko Rantanen, Nathan McKinnon money? It doesn't go. It doesn't. You have to take all that into account. Of the cap has gone up since Nathan McKinnon signed his deal. Is Nathan or is Mikko Rantanen worth more than Nathan McKinnon? No, but is he close? Yeah, he's close right now to him. But I still think what comes into play here is the Avs cap situation. Even though it'll go up by the time whatever Mikko signs for. Having said that, I don't think the Avs go the route that the Oilers just went and make their second best player higher than their first player. But I think he'll be close. I think Mikko will be close.
And it's funny that you mentioned that Connor signed this a million years ago, before the asteroid.
It seems like it, right? It seems like it was a long time ago.
The ink is still fresh and it still smells like a pen on Nathan McKinnon's deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is that 12.6 is relatively fresh with the knowledge that this cap is going to be climbing. So would Mikko and Avalanche fans be fine with 12.5?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would. And that's kind of around where I thought that they would go with him.
If not match, give him 12.6.
I remember when Nathan McKinnon signed his deal. I remember saying on the show, make all three of them 12.6. If that's the number for Nathan McKinnon, have Mikko and have Kale at 12.6. That'd be nice. That'd be very easy. I don't think it's going to happen that way, but we shall see.
You have Cale Makar's deal coming up at 27-28.
Mm-hmm.
With everything going around with the Landeskog situation, I think that would be my 3. I would do it 12.6.
Cale Makar is going to make more than that. When Cale Makar's deal is up, that will be or a new deal is ready for him. Would not surprise me if he's the highest paid player in the league
at that 28, because he'll be 28, 29 at that time. Okay.
Yeah, because that's when you cash in. That's when you get your best deal.
Okay.
At 27, 29 years old.
I like
so.
That.
I like the 12.6 for all three of them, but the fact of the matter is you still got 3 more years for Cale Makar. That's 3 more years of cap increase. 12.6 would be an absolute steal for Cale Makar at that point in time. But go ahead.
Nate goes UFA the year after that.
Getting too far, man. Too much. I don't want my head to explode right now. But the question is, does this Draisaitl deal change anything for the Mikko deal in anything that they possibly had in place? Do you feel that it has?
I don't, because Austin Matthews gets silly money. There's silly money throwing around. Look at Toronto. They've done this since the beginning of time. Just throw silly money and nothing happened. Like when it comes, you're looking at in-house with the cap issues the Avalanche have. You don't want to put yourself, even with the cap going up, you don't want to spend up against the cap again, even with the cap going up. You kind of want to be smart here. Like I would be perfectly happy if they say 12.6, exactly Nate's deal, but give it to Mikko. I'd be perfectly fine with that. And I hope, and that's what I'm wondering is, would Mikko be fine with making as much and looking only in burgundy and blue instead of the orange and blue, and saying, "Ooh, I wonder if I can get 13."
I mean, he could. He could say that just because you have more money to work with now, so pay me a little bit more. From the Avalanche perspective, I don't think this changes much. I kind of feel like they are feeling like we offer whatever it is. We feel like we have a good offer for you. Does the Oilers maybe going a little bit crazy and paying a little bit, not a lot? I don't think it's a terrible deal for Draisaitl himself. Now, the whole cap situation for the Oilers, I don't know 100% about it, so I don't know what this does to them, if this hamstrings them a little bit. But just just the deal for the player, it's not horrible considering, right? So from an Avalanche perspective, do I feel like this changes anything for them? No, because I feel like they are feeling like they probably have given him a very fair deal. Maybe from the Mikko Rantanen camp, maybe his agent is sitting there, be like, hey, let's maybe revisit this a little bit, maybe squeeze out an extra $500K out of this. I don't know. I can't say where Mikko stands, and I can only guess to where the Avalanche are, where it's like, I think they're giving him a pretty fair shot. I'm with you, man. I'm in the 12 to 12 and a half for Mikko, which would be a 3 million, maybe 3.25 more per year than he's making right now.
Yeah.
Multiply that by what is likely going to be an 8-year deal for him. That's a good chunk of change extra that he's making. So it's not like we're sitting here saying like the Avalanche are going to lowball Mikko Rantanen. It's not that. It's just, are they going to give him, or is he going to want maybe a little bit more based on this Draisaitl deal? I just don't get that vibe. I don't get the vibe from Mikko that he's this, greedy guy, but I mean, this is, like I just said, this is the time where you make your biggest contract. And I think he wants to do that. And I think the Avalanche understand that and want to make that happen. I don't feel like this is really going to postpone things, if you ask me.
No, I don't either. And I mean, in all actuality, Connor McDavid's deal is up in 26-27. And theoretically, with the cap going the way it does, they could wrap up 30 million in 2 guys. And if you keep it this way, this 12-6, 12-5 for all your big guys and kind of commit to the core, I think that's a little bit of a better approach. And I think the Avs understand that, especially going into this year, seeing what you have in that locker room and understanding what cap constraints are like. I think both Mikko Rantanen and eventually Cale Makar will understand that in putting these deals together.
And the last thing I'll say is, if you had like 1 or 2 years left on Nathan MacKinnon's deal, your Mikko Rantanen is probably going to make more than that. But I think because McKinnon's contract doesn't run out until, well, he's a UFA in 2031. I don't think they want to make Mikko Rantanen the highest paid player on the Avalanche for the next 6 years, 7 years, right?
Been there, done that.
The title needs to belong to Nathan MacKinnon for a long period of time. And I know that's, maybe kind of nitpicking here, but it's a big deal to these guys, right?
Yeah.
It was a big deal for Nathan MacKinnon to be the highest paid player in the league, even though it was only for a season, by $100,000. He had that title at one point in time, and you can always say he had that title. It's going to get passed. It did. So for Nathan MacKinnon to be the highest paid player on the Avalanche for a short amount of time, I don't think is where anybody wants to be. So I think that's why you see the Avs and Mikko go right up to about that. And now both of them are 1-2 for the next several years.
Yeah.
But to say, hey, Nate, you're the number 1 player, not only in our league, but on our team for a couple years. And now we hand that title over to Mikko Rantanen, I don't think is where anybody wants to go with this. So
yeah, I'd say Nate's deal at 12-6 is the ceiling for the time being.
Until Cale Makar comes around.
Yep.
And that would be a deserving guy to pass him.
Yep.
I think at that point in time. So all right, that's where we are with that. So we'll see. I mean, you're hearing a lot of Mikko Rantanen and in this contract. So that could get signed maybe by the time you're listening to this. Who knows? But where we're going to pivot from here is to Alexandar Georgiev. We got a couple questions on him from our subtext people. So I guess we'll go on record right now, and we'll put our predictions in for Alexandar Georgiev after this season. What do we think is going to happen with that? We'll do that next. First, let's hear from Game Time, and the NHL season right around the corner, Mr. Sullivan. So tickets are going to have to be snatched up and quickly. And you can use Game Time in their new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events, including the NHL, so much easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. You just do it right on the app, right underneath that feature. It's just one of the many things that we like about the Game Time app. What are some of the other ones? Well, they have the all-in pricing. You toggle the feature on, and it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. They have the seat views, which the way they incorporate that into the app is just beautiful. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And they even have ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. So create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Mr. Sullivan?
It is game time.
That's right. All right, so a couple questions on Alexandar Georgiev from our subtext people. We had one from Katie. Said Georgiev contract is up after this year. What do you think the Avs will do about the goaltending next year? And from McKinnon 29 says, if the Avalanche don't re-sign Georgiev this offseason, do you think they should consider signing a goaltender like, you're going to like this one, the one that he throws out here, Mackenzie Blackwood as a replacement? I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood's a guy, but I thought you would get enjoyment out of that.
Let me start there. I'm staring at his Devils jersey right now on the other side of the screen.
Right.
That's not where the Avalanche will go.
No. But what do you think? Like, we're talking a lot about the season that Georgiev needs to have. And we've talked a lot about what we think he could do. But what season is over? Let's already go to the end of the year. Why not? What do the Avs do? Do they keep him around, or is this Nabokov time next year? Like, what do you think?
This is what I was about to ask you. I was about to add one little wrinkle to this. I was about to ask one more additional question. Does it matter?
No, because here's what I'm going to say. Either way, I kind of feel like this is Georgiev's last year with the Avs.
I do too.
And the reason I feel that way is because if he has a bad year, all right, we can't keep having you around. Like, that's 2 years in a row. Not that he had a horrible year last year. I don't want to go back and be like, that last year was so bad. He wasn't what he needed to be. And maybe his numbers are a little bit inflated because he played a lot. At least the wins maybe are.
Well,
and he got bailed out a lot.
The save percentage hit the basement.
Right. Save percentage was not good. If he has another year like that, just the inconsistent nature, you can't keep that around. If he has a good season, if he replicates the first year, if he replicates last year's postseason, which was great, if he does that over the course of a season, he's probably priced himself out of Colorado, and some other team is going to want to pay him up, give him more than what the Avalanche really can offer. We're just talking about a new Mikko deal, that's going to take up a lot of money. And I think that's when they do turn to one of the new guys, probably Nabokov. We'll see what Annunen does for the season. So I think, because no matter how it plays out for Alexandar Georgiev, I think this is it for him, for the reason I just said. If he has a bad year, he's gone. If he has a good year, he's probably gone too, because he's probably going to want some more money.
And to all the keyboard warriors that are out there typing right now, at when me and Chris decided to say, to quote the wise prophet Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, it doesn't matter. No, I really feel like Georgiev, it doesn't matter if he has like a Vezina type season, because he's going to price himself out. If he has a bad season, he's not going to make it to the trade deadline. Because when's the last time? Where's our Stanley Cup winning goalie that won it in 2022?
Well, they went to Washington, and then they just traded him to the Kings, I think, right?
So,
yeah,
you got us a Stanley Cup, and where are you? You ask for a little bit more money, so that shows you where the door is. And with all these goalie acquisitions they made in the offseason, with the kind of the question mark and Frankie 2.0 and Justus Annunen, like, you don't know what you have there. You have Nabokov, which could be a franchise guy if everything pans out. So why? do you want to do another 2 or 3 years of paying Georgiev a little bit more of an inflated number for more next year? We're doing episodes of what Georgiev are we going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that accomplish for the Avalanche? When honestly, if you need goalie help, you could go purchase it. You could
Well,
trade
yes.
away.
And I think that's where the Avalanche are as a franchise right now when it comes to goalies. And the goalie position has changed. It's not, it's not so much reliant on one guy anymore. Had so many arguments with Denker about that. But he's got an all-world goalie.
Yeah.
Like those guys there's not as many. It's like the center position at the end in the NBA, right? It was always like the centers were just ran the show, and there was just so many just unbelievable goalies back in the day, and there still are excellent goalies. I'm not trying to say there's not, but I think the way that the Avalanche are running their show when it comes to goalies is a revolving door, and they're okay with that. And like this is what we will spend at the goalie position, and we're not going to go over that because we are going to spend our money on our forwards and our defensemen, and put the faith into them to have a good defensive structure where our goalie only needs to be serviceable. And it's worked for them in the form of a Stanley Cup. Now they haven't gone back there since then. Obviously, I understand that, and there's some people saying like they have to change that. I don't think you will see it. They can't, the way that they're going, like they can't afford a $10 million goalie. Just it's not going to happen. So if Georgiev has a good season and the Avalanche say, hey, what does he make, a 3.4 right now? I think it is. Yeah, 3.4. And the Avs say, you want to stay there? And he says yes. Maybe you see him stick around for a little bit more, but I don't think he's going to do that. It just like we were saying with Mikko wanting to cash in, so is he, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He is 28 now. I don't know when his birthday is. What is it? It's going to be 28, 29. That's when you cash in. So I don't see it. I don't see it beyond this season. And then you see what you got with Annunen for this year. You monitor his progress for this season. Maybe you turn to him full time next year, or Nabokov's season just kicked off overseas. You're gonna turn. It just feels like you're gonna turn to him eventually. And then maybe you're in this whole other situation with him if you're gonna have to pony up to him. Now we're in a whole nother world. So short term, I think this might be it for Georgiev.
And Avalanche fans, I want everybody to just relax. You have seen your Colorado Avalanche win a Stanley Cup with Patrick Waugh, and you have seen the Avalanche win a Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper. There is a world where you could do it in between, and you just need to relax a little bit when it comes down to money. And they do a 2-goalie system. That's ideally what they want. Injuries have prevented the Avalanche from doing that to where they would like it to be.
Right.
And you got to understand, this is a money thing now. You were talking about like the league used to be a top 10 goalie. Everybody had a nickname, and they used to sell merch just for that goalie and their nickname. You have 3 now in the NHL. You have a top 3, maybe 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can get it done with less and kind of manage who goes out there and manage how much ice they see and make your way to the Stanley Cup. So
doable.
Just I understand. Love you, Georgiev. Everything you've done, great stuff, but I don't think it's going to last past this year.
Yeah. I think it's just the way that it seems that it's set up for the Avs. So we'll have to let the season play out and see how it goes. All right, let's get our last break in here and one more listener question. And it's a fun one. We got classic sports images. What are the ones that we like? We'll talk about that next. All right. So question from our good buddy Vargar says, there are certain images that stick out in my mind in my history as a sports fan. And he kind of wants to know what ones are ours. It doesn't necessarily need to be an Avs moment. He lists his, which 2 of them, well, they most of them include the Avs. It says Landy getting interviewed by Peter McNabb on the ice after they won the cup. Peter Forsberg wrapped in the flag after winning his second Olympic gold in 2006. And he says, the moment I became a hockey fan, the stamp goal in the 1994 Olympics. Again, Peter Forsberg. So he said it doesn't have to be Avs, but he gave us 3 that involve the Avs. I have a few that are a couple hockey and then kind of kind of out there, out of the box ones. Maybe one's not, but I'm sure you have.
I have 3 Avs memories, and then I have
Okay.
some general sports as well.
Go for it.
Number 1, and this has a lot to do with recency, and honestly, the more this situation goes on, the dearer this situation is. That shot of Gabe Landeskog lifting the cup and the pyro going on behind him, I think is one of the most timeless looks, and it could be the last time we see him. It is a treasure, just all time. Like, you look at it and it hits you like, oh, that is good. And if we never see him hit the ice again, that could be the last time we saw Gabriel Landeskog. So that picture is just all time, like everything we went through between 01 to that moment encapsulated in that one picture.
Yeah. As far as an Avalanche moment, not bringing any mold here, just the Sakic to Bork.
Yeah.
Hand in the cup. Like, yeah, I know it's for an Avs fan, it's like ad nauseam, like we see it a lot. Never loses its luster for me. Yeah, that's just a fan. And then another hockey one is another one that you see all the time, and it's just epic. It's just the Bobby Orr Supermaning it. It's just an awesome image. It's just an iconic image. Absolutely love that one.
Yeah, my honorable mentions for the Avs would be Game 82.
God, that moment is just,
and a personal Avs.
Yeah,
Naz's hat trick in the playoffs. Just,
yeah, man,
the stuff of legend.
There's moments, you always say like, what if you could experience a movie again for the first time, like what would it be? And that moment, that might be one of them that's up there for me, because that was such a great moment.
Yeah.
Such a great moment. Outside of the hockey world, I have 3 of them. I'll stay with, the Colorado sports right now. John Elway diving in Super Bowl 32 was, I will never forget. I had a Super Bowl party at my house when that Super Bowl was going on. They were huge underdogs against Green Bay, and that happened right at the end of like the 3rd quarter. And when that happened, when he dove head first, 3rd down, and they just spin him around, and he goes forward he gets the first down by like a yard or so. I was like, there is no way they are losing this game. But like, I wish I could have been in a Broncos uniform on the sideline watching that happen, because, oh man, that if you were tired, not anymore.
That was the cover of Sports Illustrated.
It was everywhere. It was just everywhere. And that moment was just like, yeah, dude wants to win a Super Bowl. Absolutely. That moment is just so good. So good.
And for me, my number 1 is also football. Growing up in the South, you have Alabama-Auburn parties where half your room is Alabama fans, half of them are Auburn. 2013, the kick 6.
Oh, yeah.
I sobbed tears that day. I lost my voice that day, ran around the living room that day. One of the greatest moments in sports, but as an Auburn fan, to beat Alabama, you just don't know what that's like. And for it to go that way, monumental all-time moment.
That I can imagine being both ways, being an Auburn fan watching that, and I can only imagine what it was like being an Alabama fan.
All my Alabama friends left the house very quiet.
Oh, did they?
Oh,
yeah. You guys didn't talk for a few weeks after that?
It took my buddy a good day or 2 to finally say that was pretty cool, but I hate it still.
There's 2 other ones that I have on here. One of them is God, I wish I could remember who it was against. Larry Johnson. He like, and this was back before you had cameras like everywhere, right? And he hit a 3-pointer. He was fouled, and he hit a 3-pointer. It was either against the Pacers or the Heat or something like that. And he hit a 3-pointer, was fouled, went in, and then he hit the free throw. But they had a camera angle way up in the corner of MSG, and they just had that playing when you just see it like the bird's eye view. You see that all the time now.
Yeah.
But you didn't then. They didn't do that a lot. This was like 96, 97 or something like that. And when he hit that 3 and got fouled and the crowd just goes bananas is just a great moment. It's a great one because it was one of the first times you get that perspective and that point of view. And I'll always remember that. That one. And the last one, as far as a moment, is more of a picture. Is kind of outside the box. I've always loved this image. And I think this is the first time we're mentioning horse racing on this podcast.
Whoa.
Ron Turcotte, the jockey for Secretariat. He's going to win the Triple Crown. He's going, he's won the first 2 legs of that, and he's at the Belmont, and he wins the thing by like 33 lengths.
Wow.
It's just a blowout. And there's a picture where it's amazing how the camera was right there when it happened. And he just turns around to see how far back everybody is. And you don't really do that when you're a jockey because, races are usually tight and you're not. But I remember him saying afterwards, he goes, I just had to take a look. And I want to see if they were, because he knew the horse was going fast. And people were like, there's no way he can keep up going this fast. He's got to come back to the pack sooner or later. And he kept widening that lead. And he's like, I gotta see where these guys are. And that's the picture. He's on he's approaching the finish line, and he just looks back, and the horses are just little pin drops way in the back. It's such a great image,
man.
I've always liked that one for some reason. Great image.
My 2 honorable mentions to round out sports. 2016, I believe it was. Yes, the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series.
Okay.
I had no vested interest in either team. Yep. And just to see the Cubs do it, I got emotional at that moment. It was such a good moment. And I don't know, it felt like just a curse was broken on sports. Mm-hmm. And it was such a wonderful, pure moment to see that happen for the Cubs. Yeah. And I remember just that image of them on the mound. I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget that moment.
What I like about that moment, Tom Morello, guitarist, Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave, and Eddie Vedder, both huge Chicago Cubs fans, and they were there. I don't know if they were there for the game that they won it, but they were there one of the games during that World Series, and we're celebrating and took a picture together. So, of course, I was rooting for the Cubs because those are 2 idols to me. So, yeah, that's what I remember about that World Series.
And the last image I have, it's a painful one. Growing up, I was a Tennessee Titans fan. The stretch for the Super Bowl, losing in 2000, Kevin Dyson's stretch. My brother put it up on the wall. He was a Rams fan. It was a poster I had to stare at the whole year. It was on the cover. Okay. Yeah, he had to stretching on that last play of the Super Bowl, 34, lost to the Rams. Great picture. Tells a story, but it's painful for me, but it's still a great picture of how close you are to winning and losing a Super Bowl.
Why not go on the flip side of that and then in the lateral? Maybe remember the
Frank Wycheck.
The Frankie Wycheck lateral
against the Buffalo Bills in the AFC wild card.
That is still being debated today, and if it was forward or not. It's right on that line.
As a recovering Titans fan, I say it's fair.
I think it was. So, you got any? Throw them in the comments section. That's a pretty good topic to get some answers from the people listening. So, would love to know what you guys think. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. So, we'll be back on Friday. Maybe Mikko's got a deal by then. If he does, I think we'll be talking about it. That's going to wrap it up for today. So, thank you everybody for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. It's the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys Friday.